Welcome to episode 111 of the Thunder Underground podcast. My name is Trent. I'm joined by Jason, and we've got some good stuff to talk about and some great guests.
Yes, we do.
You know how whenever there's like a comment or something that only comes around every 70 years, this is the only time we're going to have an episode with three of the same number for 2 or 3 years.
That's right.
That's an impressive freaking fact right there.
When we get to episode 222 will be the next one.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah. That's going to be the episode where we have Ronnie James Dio's hologram on.
We're going to interview the hologram?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. They're doing the shows,
the tour,
and
yeah.
You know, by then, episode 222, they're going to be doing interviews.
Wow.
And stuff. So there you go.
Cool.
It's
I'd love to sit down with Dio's hologram backstage somewhere and shoot the shit.
Me too. It's happening. So there you go.
Right.
Whatever.
Cool. Well, on to stuff that's happening now, which is Dryvr.
Yes.
Mike DePetrillo, drummer, and Eddie Green, new vocalist.
We've got them.
Yeah, they're both here, and we talk all about how this all came about. We're going to get to that here in a bit. As always, if you're listening to us on SoundCloud, we appreciate it. You can also hear us every Monday night on WSNR 102.7. That's 1027WSNR.com. You can also download the Crikey radio app. All that great stuff. We're on SoundCloud. We're also on YouTube. All these podcasts go up on YouTube, so you've got 3 places to hear this stuff. Speaking of YouTube, just the other day, we launched a new series.
We sure
did. So to speak.
Yeah, we did.
We're calling it Every Album in a Row. That sounds pretty basic, but it gets the point across. Because what we do is, separately on our own time, just pick a band and listen to their whole catalog, their whole studio album catalog from start to finish. And we kicked it off with Metallica.
Yep. Chronological order, studio releases, every song, you know, and then we just kind of get together to discuss, you know, how we felt about it, what we thought was different, what we thought was the same, what it spoke to us at that certain time, you know, how a band's changed, all that kind of stuff. And you know, it seemed like, well, what are we going to say? But once we got into it, there's so much to say.
Right.
So, I mean, you know, I can't wait to see what we do for, you know, this band and that band and all that kind of stuff. It's really fun so far. So I hope everyone listens.
Yeah, because, I mean, you think about it, everybody knows what Master Puppets or the Black Album sounds like.
Exactly.
But have you really ever sat down and listened to Kill 'Em All and then Ride the Lightning and then Master and then Justice and Black and Load, like in succession?
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing. And then just like you said, giving the thoughts about it. And we're on YouTube it's at The Thunder Underground, so subscribe. We've done other reactions for albums like Metallica and Avenged Sevenfold and concerts and everything else. So subscribe so you can hear these podcasts and these. And the next one we're planning to do is Megadeth.
Yes.
I believe you've already started.
Yeah, I'm on, what did I say earlier? I got done with, or I'm on United Abominations right now.
So you're really deep into this.
Yes, I am.
I just finished Peace Sells, so I'm only, 2 albums in, and there's a shitload way to go.
Yeah, there is. You've got some listening to do, man. You better get on it.
Because their catalog's quite deeper than Metallica's.
Yes, it is.
But, we've talked in the future we're going to do Guns N' Roses, Pantera, Def Leppard. Those are the only ones we've, laid out there for definites. And then, hey, Life of Agony has an album coming out in April. That'd be a good one.
That'd be a great one. I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So, just be on the lookout for that. Every album in a row.
Nice.
Well, Kiss is another one that we, actually threw out and mentioned doing because that'd be cool because that's got some crazy points in there. And, both of us are big fans of a lot of the 80s stuff and 90s stuff, so we could bring that perspective to it as well.
Yeah, I would just listen to Revenge like 20 times in a row.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I listened to all their catalog.
Right.
And I'd probably get a lot of hate mail for it.
No, hey, I agree. That's my favorite Kiss album.
Definitely.
And then you got to throw on Hide Your Heart just for the fuck of it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, definitely.
But speaking of Kiss, last week I saw them live.
At the Hard Rock, at the Joint.
Yeah, see, the last few times they've came to Tulsa, or at least 2 or 3 times, I didn't go.
Mm-hmm.
I saw them, I think the last time I saw them was at the BOK, like 2010 or something, I don't remember.
Yeah.
And I just skipped the last couple of times because I'm kind of
over it.
Yeah, just kind of got over it, It's
definitely.
the same set list for the most part, but when this got announced that they're playing the Joint at the Hard Rock Casino, which is like a 2,500 seat venue, or 2,700, I think, compared to a 20,000 seat arena. That's way more intriguing for especially a band like Kiss.
Couldn't pass it up.
Yeah, it's like those options don't come around that often. They do casino shows a few times a year in between their stadium tours and all that stuff. But unless, there's one close to you, you're not going to see that unless you go on that cruise or something.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the tickets were high, but I just thought this is so intriguing to see one of the biggest bands ever, in this small space.
Yes.
And if you've never been to the Joint in Tulsa, it's one of those theaters where even if you're in the back row, it's a decent seat. And I had a pretty good seat. I was like a third of the way from the front, so
okay.
I think it was probably like 15th row. And it was as great as you would imagine it to be. They still had all this stuff going on. I've seen a bunch of shows in there and there's never any pyro or explosions, but Kiss managed to pull that off.
Yeah.
It was obviously way scaled down from what they do in an arena.
Yeah.
But they still had, the sparks and the explosions and the pops and the fire, and he did the fire thing, but it was like real, I think in the arena, at least the times I've seen him, has always been up in the air when he's doing it.
I see.
Or way up on that platform or something,
Yeah.
and Ace or Tommy like flies across, and that didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
But they had risers that went way up, and Eric Singer's drum set raised clear up as far as it could go in the Joint.
That's great.
And there was mass amounts of confetti, like more than I've seen at any show except maybe Guns N' Roses or something. And they even threw in, because I'd text you while I was there, they threw in some songs I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, get into the set list.
Yeah, because it had a lot of obviously all the stuff you expect when you go to a Kiss show, but they played Flaming Youth, Firehouse, and Let Me Go Rock and Roll.
Yeah.
Which were 3 songs that you don't really think you're going to hear. And they didn't play like Strutter, and they didn't play Calling Dr. Love, so they replaced some bigger hits with that stuff. And, obviously, I think it was like 18 songs maybe. If I'm making an 18-song set list, there probably would have been 3 of the songs I heard in it.
Yeah.
And the rest would have been totally flipped, but it's... it is what it is. You're never going to get the chance to go up to Paul Stanley and say, hey, you need to play Hide Your Heart and take it off in Unholy tonight. Because that's never going to happen.
They have pulled out Unholy, though.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, like I've seen it in set lists, not like on a Kiss cruise, but I don't know how long ago it's been, but Makeup Era has done Unholy. I know that much.
Man, that'd be great. That's a bucket list thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, sounds like you had a blast. I'm glad they threw in some rare stuff,
Yeah.
I really, I teetered on going or not. It was kind of steep for me. So I'm not too bummed, but hey, I'm glad you had a blast. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah. Yeah. It was an experience. It was definitely worth it for that more intimate feel at least for a Kiss show.
Exactly.
And speaking of, Gene Simmons is playing, I didn't even look up, I forgot the name of the town. It's some town in North Oklahoma at the Kansas border.
Mm-hmm.
That's got a big casino, and Gene Simmons is headlining some day-long event that also has Drowning Pool and a few other bands on it. So that'd be kind of interesting to see his solo stuff, since most of it's not that good. I don't know if he's going to be playing Kiss songs as well, but I'd much rather see Paul Stanley or Ace Frehley.
Yeah, me too.
If I was going to see one of those guys solo, but
that's right.
I better stop talking, because maybe he'll let us get him on the podcast.
I know, you never know. I really think when they get that Kiss-themed casino going...
Yeah, they'll be back to that.
They'll be back. I think they'll play that. I really would like to go check that out once it's done. I mean, that's just, I got to see that.
Yeah, they're opening the first Kiss Casino in Oklahoma.
I know.
And it's like Depew. Was it Depew or what?
No,
or
it's
Belraw or something.
It's like it's up by Ponca City or something. I don't know. It's like because it's again, it's like close to the Kansas border.
So it's probably the same town that he's playing this show in.
It might be. Yeah, I don't know.
Everything got a reason with it when it comes to Kiss.
Yes,
so this probably is why he's playing that.
That's right.
To promote the casino that's not going to be open until 2019 or something. But I don't know. Well, we got some Dryvr to talk about.
Yeah, we do.
We sat down with Mike and Eddie over at Mike's house before they started rehearsal the other night.
Yeah.
And speaking of, when we ended, we saw a couple songs that they're, when they started rehearsal.
Yes.
And that was very cool.
It was great. I'm pretty honored to be able to see a couple songs. What we talked about, how even though it was just practice, Nathan was still into it like crazy.
Yeah.
I love
that. That's
like
so great to see.
I know. And it was just, they sounded good, and, it made me want to, be in a band again and go practice with some dudes or something. It'd be really hard with my little Epiphone and pig nose amp, but man, I want to do it.
Yeah.
But no, it was, and we had a great conversation with Eddie and Mike about what's been going on, and, it really, really excited for everybody to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah. If you haven't checked out Dryvr before, you need to get on Facebook, DRYVR, follow these guys, look them up on Reverb Nation, listen to their stuff. They've got some great stuff. And if you are familiar with them and you didn't know, Eddie Green, formerly of Even the Dogs, is now the vocalist. So it'll be real interesting to see, when they get more recorded stuff with him. Because I imagine it's going to sound great, because we saw him live at HolataFest when he debuted with him, before he was officially in the band, and he sounded great. We talked about that.
Yeah, exactly. And it sounded great at rehearsal. It was awesome.
Yeah. Well, before we get in this, we need to play a song.
Okay.
I kind of jumped ahead, I guess.
Yeah, you're teasing us, Trent.
Yeah.
That's mean. You put the tip in for just a minute.
Oh, man. Hashtag just the tip, huh?
Ugh.
Torpedohead is a band out of Germany, 3-piece band that we played a couple of times. It's been quite a while. We're playing them again just because
we can.
Both of us.
And they kick ass.
Yeah, both of us love these guys.
Yeah.
Their third album is simply called 3. It came out, I think it was last March, so we're getting close to a year ago.
Okay.
But this is fantastic, just like their previous 2 or 3 albums were. You got to check them out. It's good time. What's the word? Punk and roll.
Yeah,
trashy, melodic punk and roll.
Yeah, it's got that melodic, the catchiness and the sensibility, but it's kind of heavy too at times. It's great stuff.
Yeah, this song we're gonna play is a little more melodic, even more than some of the other ones.
Okay.
But it's just like as catchy as it gets, and it gets stuck in your head, and it's wonderful. Is the best way to say this.
Yeah.
This is Torpedohead, Wildfire. Wildfire from Torpedohead off their album 3. Look that thing up, buy it on Amazon, iTunes, listen to them on their Facebook page. Torpedohead's all one word. They're out of Germany. They're unbelievable. I just love that Backyard Babies kind of dirty rock and roll. It's got the sensibilities of the 70s rock, but it's also got the trashiness of the, the Sunset Strip thrown in there as well.
It'll stick in your head all night.
Yeah.
So now can we get to Dryvr?
I guess. I was going to edit this like in order, but now you just ruined it.
That's okay, because I want people to know what a tease you are and how you're fucking with everybody's emotions here.
Right. I'm sure that song was like 3 minutes. They're probably still here.
Okay, good, good.
Right. Let's just get into this, right? We don't need to keep talking about it.
No, fire it up.
We're here to hear Eddie Green, brand new vocalist for Dryvr, and Mike DePetrillo, drummer for Dryvr.
I've walked into this whole new angst in this band. New level of angst that I'm not used to, accustomed to here.
I'll cut you. Messing around my territory. I'm not into it.
He's pissing on my tree.
You seem like you're the type of guy that can handle it, though.
Oh yeah, unfortunately I'm the bouncer of the band. So
yeah, I like that. We're gonna have him handle all our small stuff.
Yeah, I
pretty much all the rest of it too.
I do have a pretty short fuse, unfortunately. Yeah, I have a short fuse. They've asked me about a couple of situations. This telling the story of my very first exposure ever to hardcore dancing.
Oh, man.
I'm sitting there and I'm at the mustard tree and we're playing. And this is back whenever I was in a band called Recycled Souls. And we're playing and these guys doing all those karate swings. And the dude almost hit me right in the face. Some little skinny, dirty gym shorts, flip-flop wearing kid. Hair looks like he just walked out of Hot Topic. And he's sitting there and I looked at my drummer and I'm like, did he just try to hit me like that? And he's like, no. I was actually bigger at the time. And he goes, no. He goes, I don't know what they're doing. I'm like, yeah, I don't either. I've never seen anything like that. Thing I know, man, he comes back around. Whoosh, almost missed me. I grabbed him by the shirt and bounced him off the concrete. Boom! Picked him up, and I was like, you hit me, and you're gonna be in big trouble. And the kid's like, I'm just dancing. Like, that is not dancing where I come from.
We usually call that epileptic seizure, but whatever.
They have medication for that.
Yeah. You know, moshing's one thing, but these kids have, like, the kicks and the spins, and it's crazy.
It is. I call it the gorilla.
Yeah.
You know.
The
picking up
change.
Yeah, picking up change. Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
First time I saw that, and then, you know.
What the hell did you drop?
Yeah. Was it something I should be helping you look for here?
Yeah.
But then as it progressed, and we played more and more with grindcore bands and seeing a lot of that stuff, you know, we would go to these shows and, man, people would get seriously injured. Mm-hmm. You know, I saw a guy, he was probably every bit of about 6'5", probably 450. Wow. And he was out doing it in the middle of I think we were with All Shall Perish. Something like that. And he was in the middle of that thing and snapped his femur. Wow. Yeah, and he's laying. The whole show stopped because he was screaming so loud you could hear him over the band. Wow. And then the whole, it's like the Red Sea parted, man. You could see a guy laying there and his leg looked like he had a knee right in the middle of his thigh. Ooh. And he's just crying. I'm like, well, you deserved it, you dumbass. You're the one that was dancing like that.
You jumped into it. And what show were we at just not too long ago? Somebody stage dived and they actually parted and nobody caught him.
Oh, they Jack Blacked him. Oh. That's awesome. The School of Rock.
It was just a couple months ago. I forgot what it was. The guy was like, yeah, go. Everybody's like, bam. Uh-huh. Oh, shit. I've not seen that in a while.
Yeah, exactly. God dang. Who'd you piss off? Yeah, apparently the whole crowd.
Right. Not that guy. Not catching him.
Well, it was like I was at Kill Switch and Hatebreed at the Canes. And, you know, Jamie gets up there and wants the wall of death and all this. And I'm standing right in the middle watching the show. And he's like, I need this side to go over here. I'm like, I'm going to the back. I don't need any part of this. Right here. I'm going to watch all this chaos. Because I guess they pride themselves in, like, so many people leaving in an ambulance every single show from their pits. I'm like, yeah, I don't want that. I see too many people get cheap shotted in those pits, too.
Yeah.
I just get out of it. I don't need to mess with it. I'm the big guy. They're going to be gunning for me.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
So I'm pretty much right on the edge of it. You're like, whoa, hey, thanks. Short enough, a lot of the arms go over me.
I got kicked in the teeth at one Kill Switch dude in combat boots. He was crowd surfing. Somebody spun him. I wasn't paying attention. I'm watching the show. Bam! Got hit right in the face. Pair of steel-toed boots. My nose bleeding. It's like, that means it was a good show.
Yeah.
I've had a few of the pit injuries. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm too small for this shit. And people bouncing me around. So I'm going to stand on the edge.
Yeah.
Plus, it's hard to play with, like, bloody everything and broken fingers.
Yeah. It's just not worth it to me anymore.
But I always figured, you know, I paid money. I want to see the band. I don't want to have to worry about, you know, what's coming at my head.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, that's cool for people that want to do that, but I want to watch the show, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
It seems to have been more respectful in the last several years. There's only a few that end up being like that, and it seems like lately more than not, especially if I'm watching it from the stage, is the ones that get rowdy kind of the pit kind of contains them or corrals them. So there's not as much of that as there was like in the beginning days. Mm-hmm. So it seems like people are more into it, and I like how the respect has changed where people are dancing and mashing. If somebody gets knocked, people will pick them up. That's pretty cool. Yeah,
Yeah, there is etiquette in the pit, and there's typically a hierarchy too. If you watch, you can typically see, and if somebody gets out of line, everybody in the pit puts them right back in line pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the most brutal ones I ever saw was Rocklahoma a couple years ago, Non-Point. It was all muddy and nasty, and man, these guys were literally, I saw several people get knocked out cold in this pit. It was pretty rough.
Too. As a matter of fact, the pit that was in front of, I think it was Hatebreed, there was going, and big pit, and this guy's got his arm snapped.
Oh.
You could hear him, now the band didn't stop, but you could tell, and even Dez was like, "Hey, pay attention to this guy," and this guy's arm was like this.
Good
and
God.
And it wasn't from, it was just accident. Like nobody was being a douchebag. It was a normal pit. Everybody was behaving themselves. And I think because of the wet and the slip and all the people, and I think he hit one of the trash cans that was up there. And just, and his arm was like this. And I'm like, oh man.
Yeah.
You fucking well know.
That's precisely why I don't get in those.
So a couple of cats about his size, reached over and finally got in and got him out. A couple of people were holding his arm. And it's just like, oh man. God, I know that hurts.
Yeah.
I could feel his pain from across the pit.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, you ready to rock and roll?
Yeah. Oh, I guess we should just ask the obvious question right off the bat. Why do you have a new singer?
Because I quit the band.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. We've been going in different directions, basically, for a little while. We love Adam. Hell, everybody's heard him sing. He's a badass. So I expect that he'll probably put out a solo album and kick everybody's butt. But we've just kind of been going down a different path, and we wanted to do some different things. And, and it happens every once in a while. We thought we had whatever set, but just some things changed. And we wanted to we're doing different things, and it just wasn't lining up. And it just finally came time that opportunities happened, and we had an opportunity to work with Eddie. I've been a fan of his for a long time, so I've been in his audience for a minute, and I actually called him from before because some shows weren't going to work out schedule-wise with Adam in the past, but they ended up working out just fine. And then we had a big family emergency right at the end, and we were stuck without a frontman for a little bit, and the benefit came up for John. So I called Eddie again, and I'm like, dude, here's what's up, and I could use your help. And he's like, okay, which was one of the greatest phone calls I ever had, and luckily he was done. He had been done with Even the Dogs for a minute, and he had some time, and he came in and jumped ship, and we worked the shit out of him. We fried his voice. It was like, every day for like a week and a half, just every day singing. There was a couple of nights we were playing, he's like, I'm just going to sit tonight, if that's okay. Which was funny, because we roasted his voice. But he came in and just nailed the shit out of it. And now we're off to the races. And it's kind of, I guess, Dryvr 2.0 or a re-beginning, or however you want to brand it. But he's fit what we want to do and some of the changes we've wanted to make. And we're pretty happy about it. I think some cool stuff is fixing to happen.
Cool.
Right. So when it came to HolataFest, I mean, I'm sure that was, you wanted it that way. I mean, maybe didn't, I don't know, but I just thought it was cool that we didn't know, and then all of a sudden there you are up on stage. I mean, that was pretty cool.
I kept that on purpose.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, and part of it too is because we didn't, there wasn't a decision at that point. I was just helping. And we didn't want anybody there. We didn't want any preconceived notions, like what you had said on your show. It's like, well, if I would have said Eddie's going to be singing for Dryvr at HolataFest, I don't necessarily know if that's going to work. Yeah. And I'm blessed enough to be versatile enough vocally. I mean, because like what Mike said, Adam's a hard act to follow. I mean, he's teaching me to follow their old catalog is teaching me to be rangier and to do some things that I haven't done vocally before, and stretching me, to where, I'm more of a Howard Jones, Phil from All That Remains, kind of vocalist, the, Five Finger Death Punch. It's, they was really soaring vocals and things like that. So to try to infuse a little bit of me into their old catalog was a unique fit, but we didn't want anybody to know, because it wasn't a replacement at that point. It was just, I'm just trying to help out. So if we tell somebody, hey, Eddie's going to be out there, then all of a sudden the rumor mill starts, and that's not good for Adam. That's not good for Dryvr. That's not good for me. Those kinds of things. I was helping some brothers out. Adam helped me out. I had a family trip. I've only missed 2 shows in my life, and both of those were back to back, and Adam filled in for me on 2 shows. So, we had already scratched each other's back, and I used to pull Adam up on stage with us all the time, so he was familiar with our catalog, and we had played multiple shows with Dryvr, and I was familiar with theirs and their professionalism. So out of respect to the music community and Dryvr Nation, we didn't want a rumor mill. So, so I think Mikey and the crew handled it perfectly.
Yeah, I thought it was a perfect way to do it. It made a lot of sense.
Well, how quick did you, because that wasn't that long ago, how quick did this decision come after that?
It's been somewhat brewing for a little bit. Like I said, we've just been kind of going in different directions. And then after the show, a lot of phone calls, text messages. I sat the guys down. We've talked a bunch off and on before, and right about that time, called Eddie, asked him a bunch of questions, sent him some emails, and sat and thought about it and talked, and hey, come over to the house, let's have some beers and sit and talk. And there's a turning point that is in front of us now, gentlemen. And I gave my opinion and my ideas and what I'd like to do, and I think Eddie could be a good fit. But I'm not the only voice, so everybody else has input and stuff too. And, it's a little bit different for Eddie. So his decision, obviously counts, duh. But I asked him too, and what do we think about this? And is this something that we'd like to do? And of course, I was kind of already on board with, I want to give this a run down the racetrack and see what happens. And the rest of the guys were like, yeah, because we've been, like I said, Dryvr has been a fan of his work and his past bands. So we've had a working relationship. We've had a family, a community bond. We've helped each other. So we already like each other. We already know we like the guy. So it's like, is this something you think you'd want to do or even give a shot at doing? And he's like, let's see what happens. And so got in for a few days, and what's the first few songs, gave him the first few tunes, and he came back and just nailed it, and he's been getting, like, every time he opens his mouth, it gets better. It's giving us chills and whatnot, and it's a heavier formula that we'd like to do, and a road we'd like to go down. We're not going with all growl, but then Eddie wants to get away from all growl, and he's got a hell of a range. He does he can do kill switch, and sound just like him. So somebody that's got some heavy and some gravel for punctuation is what I call it, but then some clarity so the crowd can understand the words are being said, and a range, and it just opens up a lot of new possibilities and stuff that we've wanted to do for a while. And I think we now have the capability of doing that.
Well, and Mike and I had talked offline, on a couple of different occasions that, I've always enjoyed watching him play. He's a Tulsa legend, in the scene. And I know he hates to hear that, but he really is. He's a mainstay in the Tulsa music scene. I love working with people that are professional. And he is a consummate professional. He treats this like a business, but you still have fun. So we've talked offline about potentially writing some stuff away from even the dogs and away from Dryvr, just some stuff that we would collaborate on, just because we wanted to work together in some capacity. He brings a lot to the table as a drummer.
I even made that suggestion once. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
But when I talked to the guys in this, he might not be the fit for this band. It's a chemistry, not everything works as a puzzle. But I did tell the guys that I'm not going to miss the opportunity work with Eddie now that he's done with Even the Dogs. If I have to start another band, I'm going to do it. Or do some side stuff with him, because I like this cat a lot. I like what he does. And it's some of the stuff that I hear in my head as I'm writing songs has his style in it. And it's just kind of, everything happens for a reason, and things have kind of fallen out of the sky into our lap, that it's, at the moment, it's working really well.
Well, I think the really cool thing about it, too, is that for people that were fans of Even the Dogs, it's not going to be Even the Dogs reincarnated. For people that were fans of Dryvr 1.0, it's not going to be Dryvr 1.0, even though we're going to stay really pretty true to the overall back catalog of stuff. I still have to, every vocalist puts their spin on a little bit of stuff, not taking anything away from Adam, because he's a great guy, but I'm not him and he's not me, so I think whenever we do launch it, whenever it actually people in Tulsa get to see it, I think they'll get it. It's not going to be, don't expect ETD, don't expect the old Dryvr, but expect just a really killer mix and infusion of both that is still true to what people expect from Dryvr on stage.
As a matter of fact, we will get to finally expose this, if you will, officially. We got the word that we can talk about it, that we're going to be April 22nd at the Shrine. We're going to be with Saving Abel. So that'll be our first official Tulsa performance with our new frontman. And I'm pretty excited about that. And there's a lot of work on both his and our part.
More so mine.
Work has never scared me, and I'm looking forward to it. Actually, the first thing we're going to do with him is we're going to be in Dallas at Gas Monkey Live on the 25th of March. And that's like a big showcase for Rocky Mountain High Energy Drink. So that'll be the first official outing with him, but the first official Tulsa show is going to be April 22nd. And so I'm pretty excited about that. Plus the Saving Abel guys are somewhat friends of ours. And Steven, their drummer, is a friend of mine, and we're both Silver Fox drumstick people. Yeah. So we're kind of in like the Silver Fox gang. Yeah. So that's kind of cool. And
don't mess with them. They ride their motorcycles and beat people up. It's great.
We have sticks. We'll throw wood at you. So I'm pretty excited about that. And then just as we get going and build, and we'll fill the calendar back up, and the phone's been ringing. I'm getting a lot of inquiries. I know we're ridiculously stoked. We're going to be in Nashville in July. We're playing a couple of sets, and probably more than that, just depending on how time works out. But we're going to be playing at the Summer NAMM show.
Oh, nice.
So that's great. I'm ridiculously happy about that. Plus, I get to play in front of the industry cats and. Hey, call it what it is, show off in front of the guys that I'm endorsed by and kind of show my guys off to them. And I'm really excited about that. And then there's just a bunch of other cool stuff that's on our plate that we'll fill calendars up and let people know about just as we get running and going. I'm way looking forward to it. It's hard to explain, but I keep telling everybody I can't wait till some time has passed when, he's got the catalog now where he's, owns that. And then having the new stuff emerge that's freshly written with Eddie. Not that he's singing something that already existed. And with every rehearsal, new bits and pieces of some of the stuff that we've got, and new bits and pieces are starting to emerge. And he's a lyricist. I write lyrics. He's also a co-writer, so I can write stuff and hand it off to him. I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then Nathan's got stuff that he's had that he's wanted to whip out, and then new stuff. As a matter of fact, Eddie plays guitar, so he was playing the other night at rehearsal and come up with like a diminished such or another chord. I've only played guitar for like 10 minutes. I don't have a fucking clue. But he did something, and Nathan grabbed a hold of it, and he's like, hey, what's that? And then 10 minutes later, he had put it into a riff that turned out to be pretty cool. So new stuff is emerging, and after some time passes, I can't wait to see how that forms itself.
Well, question for you. You guys announced last October that Even the Dogs was splitting. Mm-hmm. And you said that it was due to families and getting older and all that stuff. And I know that could have been other members, but how quick was this decision for you whenever they asked you to join? Was it something you had to contemplate?
I'm unfortunate. Well, yeah, of course. I mean, it's, anything that you do musically, being in a band is like a multiple marriage, and even the Dogs, what ended up happening, ran its course. For 10 years, we'd signed a major record deal. We had, fallen on our face. We'd replaced multiple members. And, I love those guys. They're always going to be my brothers. I still do stuff with Blaine, on the side. But, the situation became too pressing to try to get all 5 guys together on stage. We were lucky at the same time. We were lucky to be able to rehearse once a month, and whenever a band hits that wall, I don't want to force anybody to be on stage. And even the Dogs was my baby. I mean, I founded that band, along with Anthony and David. And, whenever it came time to lay it down, I was heartbroken, about it, because I had spent a lot of blood, sweat, and tears with those guys, but life will get in the way. And I don't want to fault anybody for that. I mean, I was fortunate enough to raise 3 boys and be able to still find time to tour and be in a band and find the financial need to be in the band, provide the resources that I needed and all that. It was always first on my priority list. It's like, the band always is up there. Everybody else wants to think it's a hobby. It's not a hobby for me. But, I took some time off, which is why, coming all the way back to what Mike said, that he roasted me vocally, because I had not sang since August, the last time we were on stage. Well, just like a muscle. If you're not using it, it's not working. And when you get pushed that hard to try to get ready for a show, and even still, I'm still trying to get back in vocal shape. I mean, I was pretty fried by the end of last week, because these guys treat this like a business. So you're rehearsing on a regular basis. We're rehearsing 9 to 12 hours a week, and when you're not used to singing like that, I've got to get my voice back in shape to be able to handle that. But when they called me, it was a decision that I had to talk over with my family, that I had to think about, is this going to be a good fit for me? I knew Mike and I got along really well, but it's always different when you throw a bunch of people in a room, and you start doing stuff, so we could be great outside of work, but how are we going to be at work? Together.
You'll spend a lot of time together. So,
and when we got on stage together at HolataFest, it felt natural. It felt right, and the chemistry that I had already between the guys and what we were doing, I just told them, I said, man, I had a blast. I had a lot of fun, thanks so much for letting me get up here and do this. And then it was not very long after they called me and asked me, would you be interested in potentially taking that spot? And I said, tell you what, why don't you take care of your backyard? And if that's what you want to do, then let's meet in the middle. We'll discuss. And it all just felt great. And like he said, every single rehearsal, there is just this new cohesiveness and this new gel and this new energy, and it's exciting. And so it really didn't take me long. I mean, they are world-class musicians. And it's easy to get up. It's easy to get up and sing with a band that's as good at their craft as what they are. So they talk about all this work they got to do. They don't. They know their songs, whether I'm singing them or not. I got to learn. The work's really on me. So,
well, I spoke to you guys in the past, and getting back to it is like a 5-way marriage. But you get cats in the room that all want to do this, because it's a lot of work. It's an ass load of work. So you've got to want to do it, and we all do. And you
got to want to do it beyond show day.
Right?
Everybody wants to play on game day. Nobody wants to put in the practice. And that's the only way you get better.
Mm-hmm.
So as tough of a time constraint as sometimes it can possibly be, it's all worth it in the end whenever you can get up on stage and you can do everything in your sleep. Where every single point in the song is, because you practiced it so much that it's just commonplace to you. Now the big thing is they're a lot wordier than I was as a lyricist, so I'm having to learn War and Peace on a Dr. Seuss mentality, because they do have a lot of lyrics. So I'm learning. So if you were watching, if you caught it, I don't know if you guys saw it, but on stage at HolataFest, I had my Aussie monitor up there, so I had all my lyrics.
Which I thought was awesome. I'm like, I'll hold up fucking cue cards. I don't care, whatever it takes, man.
Yeah, definitely.
And I thought that was cool. And he's putting his own spin, his own cadence to it, which actually threw me off a little bit at HolataFest on stage, because I wasn't quite used to it. And so that's something getting used to. But he is a player. He's good He's solid with timing, which will just, that'll make me better. That'll make everybody else better. Being on the meter, and his cadence is different, obviously, than Adam, because he's not Adam. So we're having to get used to how he approaches and how he sings and how he groups and phrases things together. And but we're getting used to that. And like I said, it's work, but we're not afraid of it. It's going to take a minute, but we're excited to be up and running and going. So I think a bunch of cool stuff is on our horizon. I feel pretty positive about this.
Well, and the other thing too is I'm super appreciative of Dryvr Nation too. They've welcomed me with open arms, so far, and I'm one of those kind of people that believe in hard work, so I'm going to do everything I can to not let them down. I mean, they have an established fan base, so we don't want any of them running away, so, and it will be a little different. It will be a little different, but I believe that we're going to be better. Then I don't believe we're going to take a step backwards in any way, shape, or form. My intensity as a front man, is up there, and the more that I learn their stuff and the more comfortable I am with it and can do what I do naturally, I just think it's going to bring, a whole nother level of intensity. Not saying it's going to make everything heavier. It's going to do all those kind of things. It's just going to be more intense. It's going to be more grab you by the throat and not let go,
And yeah, we've gotten compliments and concerns. Absolutely. And, I'm a little nervous and concerned myself. We've got an established thing already, and we're making a change here as we're driving down the road. That's always scary and tough.
Well, the singer's the hardest thing to get people on board with sometimes.
Very much. Very much. It's one of the hardest positions in the band to fill, period.
Yeah.
And then making a change as the bus is already in motion. That's like, two tough things all in one breath. And it is a transition, and I expect people are going to like it as much as we do, but it's like I said, we've got compliments and concerns.
Well, and it's you can't please everybody, right. But we're sure as hell going to try.
Yeah,
and if you'll give us the benefit of the doubt, it's especially with me at the front, I can promise you I'm going to do everything in my power to not let you down. I have a vested interest in, again, exactly what you said. It's the hardest person to replace, is the singer. And there's going to be some people that are not going to like it. And that's okay. I'm sorry, but this is the decision they decided to go with and that I decided to go with. And so far, the positives far outweigh the negatives. It's, if people are half of what the praise you guys gave us on Thunder Underground on the last one, whenever you saw us at HolataFest, if it's even half of that, we're well on our way to doing some big things. So
Good.
Well, what about, I know you guys have been recording a good chunk of an album last fall, right?
Yeah.
What's the status on that?
There's a music bed that's laid, and then there's a couple of things that the guitar players want to tweak and fix and whatnot.
Had you already done vocals and you're going to have him do vocals now, or are you guys writing new stuff?
We really haven't even got to that door yet. There were some vocals done, but not all of them. And once it gets time, like I said, as time gets to there, when he owns everything, is the easiest way for me to describe it, then we'll approach, do we want to change? Do we want to re-record? Do we want to put him over what's there? Do we want to regroup again and maybe just do an EP instead of a full 12 song, which seems to be more the lay of the land as it is now. I'd personally like to have a 6-song EP of all brand new stuff to put out that Eddie's on, but some of the other stuff is left unfinished, and there is a music bed. So I'm sure at some time we'll try it, see what it sounds like. It could come off great or be not it. We might have to start over again. This working on this record has been kind of a pain in our ass. I've told the guys until I don't care anymore. But we've just gone through studio hell, not personnel, but we've had to stop and start this record like 3 times in 4 different studios, just because of people and personnel and timings and studio problems. And, so we went back and started working with Hank again. I've done a bunch of work with him, and the music bed turned out great. So that's there, and when it's time to approach that, I'm sure we'll figure something out. I can see him being on some of the stuff, and of course, we've already let everybody know that who contributed to what's already there, you're going to get credit. If we end up selling stuff, everybody's going to get paid for what they've already done. Adam wrote lyrics. Adam was a piece of this up till now. So anything that comes out of that, of course, we're going to make sure Adam gets stuff. And we love our brother. We always will. So there's some decisions in that to be made when that time comes, for sure. And I think we'll just do the, like a one day at a time kind of thing. It's like a pad of sticky notes, just peel each layer off, and as we get there.
Yeah, we got an elephant on the counter right now.
I'm sure that answer will kind of show up, and I think it'll answer itself when the time comes. If it should be all new, or if we should do some of both, or have him be on the older stuff. But that's we haven't got to that bridge yet.
Yeah, I still think there's probably some things that they'll look at too. As we progress and we start getting out on stage and getting out there, I'll be under the microscope, on whether or not it's still a good cohesive fit and it's the direction that they want to go. I fully anticipate that, and that's fine. We may get out there on the road and not, we may love what we're doing in the living room, but the crowd might not. I don't see that happening. I really don't. It's all of us have been around and have done this for a while. We're stage veterans, so it's, I just think, again, it's like I said, we're just trying to take it and bring it up to another level. And I think it's coming there. It's going. And I am going to be real hard pressed to think that anybody's going to be able to stop that bus when it starts rolling down the hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've said it a bunch. I end up sounding like a broken record, but I think there's some cool stuff on our horizon. We just have to work to get there, but we're already willing to put in the work. So the doing it's not going to be a problem, and then we'll just approach each little hurdle and each new setting as we get there.
I think we're all going to purple spandex. There's going to be a look on stage, maybe. No, it's got to be blue. I'm sorry.
Blue
spandex. Yeah.
Don't be screwing with the blue.
It's going to be disturbing, but that's okay.
I'll get rid of the green thong. I'll come up with the shiny blue thong.
It's funny. I was going to suggest some spandex.
Oh, were you now? Nobody wants to see that.
We've already bought them.
Okay.
People letting the surprises out too damn early. Instead of all black nipple tape, it'll be black and blue nipple tape. Now. There'll be some cool changes coming down the road.
Well, what's your so far your favorite Dryvr song to play so far? What do you really do?
It's funny because we talk about this every single practice. I'm a huge fan of Broken Glass. I love it. For whatever reason, that's been the one I've really been able to just pour myself into. I love that track. I'm still learning the catalog as right now, but that one, Sins of the Father, great freaking track. I think those are probably, and definitely Cloak and Dagger. Cloak and Dagger is just that kind of Godsmack meets AC/DC kind of feel, and just it's got bluesy, but it's intense, and I'm bringing a grit, to it that is a little different feel. We just started I just learned Answer, which has become a lot of fun to play. So, and then there's a couple that I'll be working on again tonight. It'll be the first time really approaching them as I learn the catalog. But those three, it'd be really hard pressed for me to say which one's my favorite. If you're going by what they say, it would probably be Broken Glass. But I'm able to pour more emotion into that one so far because I've just found my way in that song, and really found a niche that I like that infuses kind of that intensity that I was talking about, along with that clean, rangy vocal that I'm relearning how to do, So it's it's been a good chemistry. That's my favorite one. I get really excited when we get ready to play that one in practice. So that's the one that I'm like, oh yeah, I just pour it all out there, and then I got to suffer through the rest of them only because I'm still trying to learn them and trying to find my way and navigate my way through the river and say, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do with this, and this is a spin I'm going to put here, and without taking away from the overall integrity of the catalog. So.
And it's also got the other guys warming their vocal chops back up too.
Yeah.
Because they had done some, and they've done backups, and they've done live stage vocals. Pretty much, since day one, and so now that Eddie's in there, it's kind of made them want to get back on it and do more of it on a more consistent basis. So that's pretty cool. And my ass is back there screaming and singing while I'm playing, but I think it's working out. I think it's working out great.
There was one that they had semi-lyrics for in a different title. And the very first practice that I came in and sat down, I was listening to the riff, and I just started writing, not knowing that they had lyrics for that song, because everything they're playing, they're just letting me hear the music, just so I can understand. So I'm just writing, and I get the whole song pinned out in practice. And I'm like, hey, I said, you guys have lyrics for that? And I'm like, well, yeah, kind of, like that. And I was like, oh, well, I just wrote a whole set of them right here. So, and then renamed the song and did all this stuff. Well, the cool thing is that Robin and Nathan started doing backups, because kind of my vocal style is I'm real big into verses trailing into the choruses, where the backup vocals have to start while my note's still sustaining. And I'm, sing kind of on the backside of the beat, and, or I'm either right on and very staccato style vocal. And this one just was trailing, just the feel of it, the vocal was trailing. So they jumped on and sang the first anthemic portion of it, and their harmonies were so spot on. And then one was high, one was low, and then whenever I jumped in, and the melody on the second part of the chorus, it was big and thick and just incredible.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, and it really worked. And I was like, wow, this is dynamite right here. This is electric. I like
look at each other with the cocked head like the dog at the dog whistles, like, hey, maybe we should do that on purpose.
So yeah, and it just gets stuck, and man, it sounds so good, So I foresee a lot of that kind of stuff, and Nathan has really stepped up. It's kind of brought out a little more of his heavy side. So, he's doing a little more intense backing style vocals and things like that. So it's really cool to watch that chemistry feed off of each other, because it is different. It is. I would never ever say that I could ever be Adam. He is a unique and dynamic vocalist in his own right. So the last thing I could do, or the worst thing I could do, to be come in here and try to mimic him and fail. So in order to do it justice, I need to do it close to the way he did it, but still do it my way, so that we can leave the legacy that he left intact, and recognize him for the vocalist that he was.
Absolutely. I've looked at it as, it's not a replacement, if you were, air quotes. It's a change.
It's a new chapter.
It's a change. We're not trying to replace him. It's just it's a fork curve in the road, however you want to analyze it. And this is the path that we're on and working together with now, and it's going real well.
Your first official show was this Rock the Roadtrip thing in Dallas you mentioned earlier.
Yes.
Like, how many bands? Because I remember when you guys first started talking about that, there were a lot of bands.
Yeah, we made it to the finals. We're the top of the last three, and the way they said they're going to work it is there's going to be an opener that's kind of a cover band that does all 90s stuff. It's like the Something 90s Experience. Then it'll be the three finalists, which one's like a rock band, we're a little heavier of a rock band, and then one of them's kind of a country sounding guy. The other two bands, 8 Minute Fall and the Shotgun Billies, they're fucking badass. And then the headliners are Hillbilly Vegas, which my buddy Stacy Thornburg is the guitar player, and I've known Stacy for a bunch of years. We played together off and on when he was in his rock and his heavy bands, and Hillbilly Vegas. And I'm not a huge country guy by any means, but they're damn sure my new favorite country band. Those guys are fucking stupid good at what they do. And I mean, listen to the material, and you can't not be singing it and having a smile on your face. And it's like, no wonder. He said, dude, he didn't see it coming, and he's having a fucking blast. And if you listen to him, it's like there's no way you can't have a blast doing this stuff. And they're hugely successful. And they were, I think, one of the first bands that is completely endorsed by Rocky Mountain High, the energy drink company. And they've been playing just all over the country. They were at one of the NASCAR events last year. I think they're going again this year. I think they're playing South by Southwest. But they're the headliner of that evening. So it's going to be the opener, then the three middle bands, and then those guys are going to finish the night off. And what a killer mix of music. And I'm like a 12-year-old because I get to go to Gas Monkey Live for the first time.
Yeah.
So we're actually going to go down a little bit ahead of time and do the tourist thing and check the place out. And, of course, I got to have the souvenir shirt and all that kind of stuff.
Food's great there, too.
And
love the food.
So I've wanted to see it as a fan for a long time. So getting to play there, my first opportunity to play there, I'm ridiculously excited about it. So we're going to have a blast. We're going to make a fun weekend out of it.
Those are the best kind of shows.
Hopefully we'll come back as a winner. But just being at that level and at that show in itself, the exposure and the eyeballs are worth more than a dollar amount.
Well, if everybody that said they're tailgating down there to go support us shows up, and the Dryvr Nation will be in force down there. Yeah.
So I know a lot of Texas people that I've sent them messages and phone calls, and they're like, hell yeah, dude. And it's a free show, so that makes it even easier. You just click on the link that has been posted and print tickets out at home. And it's an all-ages show, so this opens a lot of doors. You can bring the kids. And
you guys are feeling a road trip, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're feeling?
That's it. And
well, these are the best kind of shows to play, too, where you get a really eclectic mix of stuff, because it's, unfortunately, you get pigeonholed a lot in metal bands, and you'll go out there and you'll go play, and it'll be like just a whole bunch of sound-alike bands, the place, so there you can't really tell. It's like, oh, that band was just a little bit better because they were a little more technical or they were a little more this. I've always been a huge fan of diversity, and I've always personally, on all the touring I've done, have done better when we were the heaviest band, because there's just a way you can grab somebody, even country people, that you can just grab them when you've got those killer hooks and those little breakdowns to get their heads bobbing, and you got them. So I'm looking forward to it. It's just the fact of being able to be exposed to all those different genres of music just on one stage on one night. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a fucking blast.
Yeah.
It's a fun place to see a show.
Yeah, it is. It's great.
I so want to be there. I'm telling you, I'm 17 all over again, so I'm way looking forward to this. It's going to be a blast.
And you were right on the food. I had a BLT with an egg on it, the size of my head.
Oh yeah!
I don't even know how I did it.
Whoa.
Well, I know how I did it. So yeah, you were.
Did it come with a doctor standing by?
It should have. Yeah, right
a crash cart.
Yeah, right to your arteries.
Yeah, there you go. Oh man, dude, I haven't even had that. I just went down there and had the burgers, and the burgers are to die for. So
yeah, I've seen the pictures of it, and I've looked over the menu, and I've heard a lot of reports, and a lot of friends of mine have been there and played there, and they said they had a blast. The food was good, so it's like a fun adventure to go to Gas Monkey. So yeah,
I came in at the right moment because it's kind of like
way looking forward to this
Disney World for me, because I've already got 2 bucket list things I can check off. Even Dogs had a ton of success, and we got to play a lot of great places, but we were in the talks with Gas Monkey and didn't get to didn't play before we disbanded, and have always wanted to go to NAMM. So I'm just like, check. Yeah. Good deal, man. This is doesn't get any better than that.
If it goes well, we'll get a shot at playing at the Big NAMM show in next January, because we've made it to what I would call like the finals, basically, but we didn't make the last cut to play this past NAMM show just a couple of months ago. And but she called and said, push the button again, see what happens next year. So I'm all about resubmitting and wanting a chance to go out there and play. Plus, we've got some new endorsements that we're fixing to be able to tell the world about, which helps the rest of my guys get on that side of the fence and connect with some of the companies and with some of the gear that they play that will hopefully enable them to get some badges and be able to go to it. You know, and it's hard to explain if you haven't been there. It is so overwhelmingly huge that it'll take your breath away. But being there and being a part of it is just surreal, man. I'm telling you. I mean, it's hard to explain to some of the other guys, but I told them, I guarantee you, you know, and Nashville is like a quarter of the size. So it's a little friendlier. It's not quite as hectic. It's not quite as loud. But it's still a huge blast. But just being around the industry people, the cats that make the gear and make this industry stay alive, is just amazing. And to hear these people talk, you know, thank God I can be a fly on the wall and talk to these people and listen to them. But it will change something on the inside of you. It makes you want it more, just being around that. And everybody in that room is part of this world. You know, I've described it. It's the SEMA show for the music world. You know,
and then I'll be the guy that'll be like, is that Tosin Abasi?
Oh, dude, yeah. You first get there, and it will fanboy you big time, you know. And I've been lucky to meet just some of my freaking heroes, let alone things like, you know, my cousin and I got basically trampled on by Stevie Wonder and his handler. So you know, cats that I think are just legends. I've actually got to say hello to, and it's more of on the business side, so it's not quite as fanboy. So we actually get to talk to them like regular people, ask them questions, you know, thank them for what they've done and their inspiration. And it's not the same as like being backstage at a concert where it's, you know, fan and rock star kind of thing. You know, there's still plenty of that coming from my side, but I try not to cry or pee myself in front of them.
Which I will not make that promise. I will. I've been that way every national we've ever been a part of. I'm always, will you sign this? You know, every single time. I'm just a total fanboy. You know, it's, you know, because they're doing it at a level that I've always wanted to do it at. You know, and you know, I've had, like I said, I've played big stages, but it's always been in support. You know, and then you get to see these bands that get up there and, you know, all they have to walk out on stage and say is, how you doing tonight? And the whole place loses their mind. Now, that's a level I would love to do it at. And before I die, we'll do it at.
Yeah.
You know, so
I think we have some of those opportunities. And I'm trying to work us, if my vision, you know, comes true. And it's going to be a lot of work. But I want to be like half of everybody's like main support, go out with somebody. I'm not fooling myself that I think we're going to be Metallica, and I'm not trying to be Lars, but there is work in this. There is, you know, it can supplement incomes. It could certainly, at our level, it could pay our mortgages, because none of us are hugely expensive individuals, and we know enough people and we've made enough connections that if they like this and we can put this out, then we can certainly go out and be somebody's support act and go do several shows here and there and, you know, do the there and back tours. So I see that being possible in our future. A lot of hard work, you know, it's not going to happen overnight, one day at a time, but I'm not afraid of working it. So I think this is going to be cool. So I'm way looking forward to playing at the NAMM show, because that will help us connect a lot of things, and it could certainly open some doors, because those cats know everybody. You know, the guys that built my kit and my Silver Fox guys and my cymbal people, you know, I'm one of the lower schmucks, and they know all these other famous rock star people and cats that are industry, and they know everybody. So if this goes well, then hopefully our name can be passed around, which can basically translate into us playing more shows. You know, and I prefer playing more than I prefer not playing.
Yep.
You mean you don't want to just sit here and play in the living room?
No. As a matter of fact, I do not. But I think some of those opportunities are in our future. At least I certainly hope so, and it kind of seems that way. But like I said, one day at a time, and we're ready to work it. I'm most happy about doing our first show here in April for, you know, hometown crowd and getting to play at home and see how that goes. And I focus most of what we do. I think I've told you guys before my joke of NTFH, which is not the fuck here, because that's where I want us to play. And, you know, being fresh meat in a new market, and new faces, new friends, new fans, hopefully. But you've got to get out. You've got to spread your name and spread your sound around. And so it's I try and focus on having us be out on the road as much as we possibly can.
Yeah, you can definitely overplay your market. You know, you got to give people a reason to come out and see you. You know, and make it an event. You know, so I definitely am 100% in agreement with that philosophy. You know, let's get out. You're going to build your fan base abroad. You know, and play into other people's fans and winning those people over. And wow, I'd never heard of that band before, but man, they just melted my face. That was amazing. You know, that's when you know you're a good band. You know, whenever you can go out there into places nobody's ever heard of you and you go win fans. You know, that's when you know you're doing it right. Your hometown's you hope your hometown's going to support you.
We've been very lucky. We have a really good support at home. We have a really good fan base. Cats come out and hang with us and come to the shows, which is just a huge blessing by itself, you know. But it's tough to get your butt out on the road and be not here, and that's what we have to do. You know, you have to spread your wares, or nobody will know who the hell you are.
Well, a little off subject, but last time we had you on, you played us a bunch of songs that never came out. So is that just something that's going to be personal for you guys forever, or do you think that's ever going to...
Well, it's interesting that you asked that question, and I will have to defer to... I'll talk to you offline about it. There is a future for it. You know, like I said, I'm still collaborating with Blaine. And Blaine and I wrote all of that stuff that we had played for you. So we do have a plan of putting it out there, you know, in some capacity, because there was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that went into that. And it's great stuff. I mean, it's, you know, the best stuff that was ever written from that side of it. You know, unfortunately, you know, Blaine and I did it with the exception of kind of like what he was saying with Adam. You know, there was a couple, you know, some lyric tags and stuff that was written by our bass player, David. And of course, you know, if we release it, he'll get, you know, writer's credit, you know, for that kind of stuff. But we don't have any reservations about getting it out there for people to hear it. You know, we're just trying to decide what's an appropriate path for people to be able to hear it. You know, Blaine's staying pretty busy doing, you know, some stuff. He's playing bass with off and on with Neo Romantics and doing some fill-in work with Fight the Fade, and he's got an ambient project that he's doing. So, you know, Blaine's staying pretty busy too. You know, but we do have a plan of trying to get that music out there, because I know that a lot of people wanted to hear it. And so, and in what capacity, we're not sure yet. But it will come out sometime this year. Okay. So we'll release it under what moniker, we're not sure. You know, whether or not we'll release it as a farewell Even the Dogs thing, or whether or not we're going to release it under a totally different project name, since we wrote it and it really didn't have any, you know, didn't really have a whole lot to do with Even the Dogs. It doesn't sound like Even the Dogs, you know, so but you will hear it. It will come out in some capacity.
I've heard some of it. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's really good.
I was pretty proud of a lot of the, you know, the vocal work that we did, and pretty proud of the creative process that we did, because we went in and wrote all that stuff from the ground up. You know, we did not walk in with any preconceived notions, nothing. Blaine would just walk in. They'd start a meter, and he'd just start riffing. And whenever we found something that we thought that would work, we would record that riff, and then we would build on it. So it was just a lengthy process. I mean, we kept teasing kind of like what their album is, you know. It's like, this is turning into freaking Chinese democracy here.
Yeah, that's no
it's going to end up being 15 years before anything comes out, because we just couldn't get anybody on board to get it all done. But we did have we have enough to release an extended EP of it. And then there was also we'd promised the Even the Dogs fans that there was some stuff that we had rewritten, some backlog stuff that we brought new life and breathed new life into it. And we are going to release that stuff for free download to the Even the Dogs fans somewhere in the near future. Stuff like Soul Shaker and When We Fall, and some of that stuff that was really got new life breathed into it, you know, because we got our rights back whenever we got the record company on breach of contract. You know, we got all of our rights and publishing and everything back so we can release that material again. So we took 2 or 3 of the songs that the crowd really loved and we re-recorded them with a different producer, and they're exceptional tracks, and we'll release those and just give them away, you know, to people, because the fans, we had a loyal fan base too. And, you know, I loved every single second that they gave us. And, you know, so we want to give a little something back to them as our way of saying goodbye. And who knows, you know, I mean, if somewhere on down the line they want us to do a farewell show, you know, we would do it. You know, all the guys would get back on stage and go do 1 or 2 shows to say goodbye, but it's just not in the works right now. We're all too busy doing our other stuff. You know.
We appreciate you guys' time.
Yeah,
Dude,
thank you.
It's a privilege to get to talk to you guys. You guys are freaking heroes of mine. You guys are kicking ass with this, and Thunder Underground is huge, and it's awesome. And all the cats you've talked to, so I listen to every cast that comes out, and I'm half the time going, son of a bitch, you got to meet that guy? Fucker! Yeah, what you guys have put together and what you're doing is awesome. Plus giving us a voice, giving musicians a voice, spreading things out, exposing us to stuff that, you know, hey, I didn't know this, or I didn't know about that song. So it's been very cool to even know you guys, and it's a privilege to be a part of this.
Yeah, and to piggyback on top of that, you know, there's lots of bands out there doing this kind of stuff, and you guys took your time out to come talk to us. So we don't take that lightly. It's an honor and a privilege that you would sit down with us and that you want to hear what we have to say. So we appreciate all you guys do for the music side.
Yeah, well,
Absolutely.
Well, it means
welcome
a lot
and
coming
thanks.
from both of you. For sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great.
Now just get me some more freaking Jesse James honey bourbon in this damn state, and I'll be much happier.
Well, there you go, Mike DePetrillo and Eddie Green of Dryvr. Very cool. Thank you to them for having us over. That's the 3rd time we've recorded a podcast in Mike's house now.
Yes, it is. It is, and it's always fun. There's you know, thanks for the salsa. Thanks for letting us hang out and watch a couple tunes. It was just, you know, I'm really excited to see where these guys go.
Yeah, definitely. They, you know, Eddie kind of mentioned that, or towards the end of that was talking about, you know, hey, give them a chance. You know, if you're one of those people that don't like change in your bands or whatever, especially with the vocalist. And my thing is, if for some reason you're on the fence, go see them live, and your mind will be changed. I can't imagine it wouldn't be.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, we talked about this several times with even the dogs. You know how great of a front man he is.
Makes it look so easy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how great his voice is, and how much we love even the dogs. And we've always said the same thing about Dryvr as well. So it's a perfect marriage. We saw what they did at HolataFest. And, you know, maybe we'll get to see him at this thing in Dallas we were talking about.
Yeah.
If not, we'll definitely see him in Tulsa at Saving
sure.
Abel.
Yeah.
So any chance you get out there and see him. I'm 100% sure that you'll be a fan. And like you mentioned, the salsa, Mike DePetrillo's Dryvr Mad and Dryvr Wild is the other one, right?
I think so.
He said he's selling that. I don't know if he's got... You know, I don't know if he's officially doing that, but he said he's going to be. So it's great salsa.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't like to do hot and spicy kind of stuff because I'm a wimp. But if it's homemade stuff, I want to try it no matter what it is. And it was great. It was really great. I needed some water after it, but that's probably the effect he's looking for. So it was great stuff.
Yeah, I loved it, and I love the salsa that's not chunky, and that's exactly how he makes his stuff. So.
The first one, he gave us 2 different kinds. The first one I thought was the best. I liked it the best. It was great stuff.
Yeah. So if you're a salsa fan, hit up Mike DePetrillo from Dryvr. Well, once again, you can listen to us every Monday night, www.1027wsnr.com. It's an online rock radio station, one of the biggest rock stations in the world online. They play all kinds of rock music from classic to brand new stuff 24 hours a day. In the evenings, they'll play podcasts and shows, and we're fortunate enough to be on there Monday nights, 7 p.m. Central. So check that out every week. And also you can listen to us on YouTube at The Thunder Underground, like we mentioned earlier. We're on SoundCloud.com/Thunder-Underground. Every episode's there. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, all that great stuff as well. And if this is your first time listening, we appreciate it. You can find a previous episode featuring just Mike, going way back.
Yeah.
And then we had Mike on with Scott Bond of Death Grip here mid last year.
Yeah.
And that was a great one.
Definitely was.
And we had Eddie Green on his own episode mid last year as well.
We sure did. And you know, we're getting to the point now where, you know, we try to familiarize everybody. We tell them, hey, we've had this guy on, this guy on, this guy on. The list just keeps getting bigger, and we keep forgetting more stuff.
Yeah, it's like
we're going to have to start making a huge list and bring it with us when we do this.
Yeah.
Which we probably should do because that's what professionals would do. Right. But, you know, fuck it. We're just a couple nerds.
Well, I know that, like, you know, for a long time, I realized we hadn't said Sons of Texas or Soil for like months.
Yeah.
And then, so that's why they're like one of the first two bands I say every time now.
Yes.
So we've had guys from Sons of Texas and Soil on.
That's right. We just had guys from Superjoint on, Legion, Battlecross. We've had guys from Overkill, Wino from The Obsessed. I mean, fucking Wino.
Yeah.
You know, Trickster, Warrant, Europe, if you're into all that. We've had members of those bands on. Shooter Jennings, Ian Moore, if you like some rootsy stuff. We're all over the place.
Death Angel, Shine Down, Non-Point. Did you say that?
No.
Well,
you just did.
All right. Another one of the bigger ones we've had, or bigger, more listens, was Chris Broderick.
Definitely. From
Active Defiance and famously of Megadeth for quite a while. And I put that up on YouTube last week, and he shared it again, and Active Defiance did. So I thought that was pretty cool because it kind of got a second win there.
That's right. Thanks to all those guys for sharing.
Yeah. So, like I said, you've got 110 previous episodes to go back and check out. We appreciate you listening to this one. The website's thethunderunderground.com. And coming in the next day or two, Jason's going to post a Lost Classic on Instagram of the greatest soundtrack ever recorded.
And we're not going to tell you what it is.
Yeah.
But this is...
It's not Grease.
No, this is the greatest soundtrack ever.
It's High School Musical 3.
Jesus Christ. Okay, it's time to fucking go.
It's 50 Shades of Grey.
Oh my God. I'm going in. I'm done.
All right. Well, if you're done, I guess I am too. Until next time.
Really cheap tripod holding an expensive piece of equipment. That makes sense, yeah.
It's time for you to upgrade your tripod.
Yeah, exactly.
Thunder Underground, y'all.